Hello and welcome to the Couch Project. Thank you so much for lending us your time, we really do appreciate it. Today's episode is covering the topic of derogatory terms. This topic branches off to how we as people should talk to and treat one another. Enjoy and please join in on the conversation on our social media pages or email us. Coarse language warning.
So, has anyone else experienced derogatory terms used against them, like personally within close friends groups?
I'd say general slurs, derogatory slurs. You grow up with them. You have all this other stuff. As you said, Ethan, we are quite privileged, but I think in regards to very serious matters that are, unchangeable about yourself, I personally probably have only really had I'm skinny, and that's something I can't change because of my metabolism. I eventually grew up with it.
How funny is it that you're taught at a young age when you go to school and that certain people call out people on their stuff they can't change, and they find that funny. And it's like bullying, right? And then you still get it in adult society where people are discriminative based on race or sexuality.
People are products of their environment.
Yeah, that's it's interesting, right? Where's the problem? Is it the problem from their parents?
If a parent does not tell their child that is right or wrong, or worse, if that parent encourages it, then they're going to do it, and they'll probably grow up, and they probably.
I will say that's 99% of the time. And what the other is,
I'm saying in the next 50 years, with us being when we're 90, the rate of discrimination will be so much lower.
I think so,
because we'll grow up and we'll start this new chain of.
100%.
I also think that this is one thing that one of our viewers and one of my good friends, Jared, was just talking about, is how it's becoming harder and harder to voice your own opinion because your opinion can get you cancelled, or people can really take it out of context and spin your words and so on and so forth. And I think that as all these good things are happening with the world, there's going to be equal bad things in regards to, everyone having their own opinion. Because if your opinion isn't like the global majority, then you're going to be looked at like a bigot and a fool. And
it's funny how you get taught to grow up with a thick skin. So people, you take stuff as a joke, but you're people they don't know how to take jokes, I guess. They haven't got that thick skin. Oh, that's funny. It's or even if you don't find it funny, but hey man, I don't find that funny. You don't take it to heart. I know it's a joke. That I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's going to get worse as time goes on. But I also think it depends on parents. I think with the globalization of social media and the general media as a whole, I think that giving all these platforms to all these kids that really don't know a lot about the world, and they just take one thing and they roll with it and then it becomes an extremist, I wouldn't say extremist, but an extreme act of, as you said, cancel culture and where that was born from, and all these other things about, if you voice your opinion and it's not the same opinion as the majority, a lot of the time it can get be blamed for a lot of shit, and you can actually be scrutinized for it. But I also think that comes with maturity, and that comes with being someone who stands by their own opinion. But I also think that it's also based on the person's opinion. If, for a fact, a person is racist, that is wrong, because that's blatantly, discriminatory, that's the word, against those people. But if someone voices an opinion about a specific scenario, that in the end is actually just their opinion. Maybe if they have more weight to their word, like a government official or a social media, influencer or something like that, maybe they probably shouldn't be voicing their opinions or their direct opinions about a subject.
It's because
that does hold weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because anything that they could say could then sway someone else in the opposite direction. But I think that the general consensus of the public should have the ability to weigh in on topics, but keep in mind, other people do exist, and that their opinion, any of your opinions, can be taken as negative. It just depends on how you were brought up or how you are as a person. I don't know. It's going to be, I think it's going to get tricky. The older we get, the more tricky it's going to get to try and remove cancel culture while also maintaining,
it does have good effects. It does cancel good things, but sometimes it takes it too far. I wonder where we can draw a line where it's you take the positive effects and leave the negative.
Well, like Ethan said, we influence the younger generation, and we as a society are the ones that
just think of the amount of change we've had in 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, all I'm getting at is where I believe that obviously it reaches a point where enough people, like Tom just said, are sick of cancel culture being an issue. There'll start to be a fucking movement where literally society's like, nah, fuck this. Majority of us have had it enough, and it's going to change again. It's just a constant vicious cycle is what I'm getting at. So no doubt cancel culture will eventually at some point get removed. But like, I don't think it's ever gone away. I think it just comes back every now and then.
I think it's always been there, but because of social media, it's more
prevalent,
more available for each person.
Yeah.
And some random person that has no fucking influence in anything can say something and it can catch on.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's negativity is the easiest thing to spread on in anything. So it's extremely easy when you give access to fucking everyone on the planet to the internet, and you put one negative thought can fucking string thousands of comments, where a positive comment, everyone just accepts it. What I'm getting at is that, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm getting at. I was just saying. I don't even know what the fuck I was getting at.
But just like one of our viewers just said that that the norm is always changing. So like society's view on things are always changing, right? Yeah, it's going to be fluctuating up and down for years to come to get.
It's really going to take a lot of ups and downs to find a good median. And to take the positive effects, as you said earlier, the positive effects and try and remove the negative effects.
Yeah, so I don't think.
But there's
change is always going to be
happening. Oh, of course, there's always going to be negative effects.
Yeah,
but the thing is, Guy, you got to realize that with said negative effects, that's the point where the people working at, after they've reached the point where they're making more of a positive impact than a negative impact, they spend spending as much time as possible or mitigating or removing as much negative impact as they can. And I think that's the thing. They have to get the point across, and they have to make the movement happen, and they have to make something happen from it. And then you work backwards, and you have to remove the negative stuff that has been, accumulating behind the lines of all the good. And that's the thing. You have to go forward and then make your point prevalent, and then you have to move back, and then you have to remove the negative. And that is the hardest part, I think, is you can say as much negative to a situation, and it can deter a lot of people from a lot of good things. But at the end of the day, if the people stay dedicated and the general consensus of the message is always positive, then you can eventually weed out the negative. There will always be negatives, but you can weed out.
That's what I was getting at about it being a vicious cycle. When I said just then, what I meant is that, like, there's always someone, once an issue is solved, there's going to be another issue because some
silly person
on the fucking internet has their argument, and then it shifts subjects. So what I'm getting,
bad word.
What?
Dolly Parton.
Yeah, don't say that.
I know. I'm as I said before, it's really hard. This is why I need to write it out. I'm not saying that you get to say whatever you want. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, as Tom said, change doesn't happen instantly, right? Doesn't happen instantly, right? So my ability to stop swearing stop swearing even, or say the R word. You
can't say the letter. You can't say the letter, man. What are the numbers?
Even I can't even remember my fucking point.
No, I get what you're trying to say, because the thing is, you want to be able to, talk the way you want to, and of course,
I talk. Like, I don't. It's manipulative to treat people differently just because you think.
No, but we're not saying we're not saying that you need to be acting different on the stream. We're saying that generally, if you want to use your point of changing, you also need to realize that even though you can't say certain things online, you also shouldn't say them in person. So as I just said, if you're pushing the consensus of you can't say the R word online, which we can't because that's bad, you shouldn't be saying it behind closed doors. But again, behind closed doors is a different scenario. You're not in the view of public eye, and you're not also trying to make.
We could be influencers.
No, but that's what I was just about to say. You were just literally talking about cancel culture and people not being able to talk about what they want to talk about.
Unless they have influence. Tom said you got to be careful if you have influential.
Views. Like you have an audience, right? So, for instance, if we ever got an audience, the thing that would cancel us would be the things we've said in the past. So, for instance, if someone that has, is an influencer and they have something and they've said it before and they've never removed it from the internet, then eventually someone will find it, spin it, send it off into fucking space and get you fucked. Like,
exactly.
But even saying that stuff, I kind of agree with Kyle. Like, even saying that stuff, we've literally talked about it. It doesn't mean anything. We just say it. It's out of habit. It's out of how we grew up.
Kai, but you want people.
I want people to be aware
to be who they are 100,000% of the time, no matter who they're with, no matter if they're by themselves, no matter if they're in front of anyone else.
People, this is why I need to write it out, because I understand your argument. You're saying that if I'm okay, let's put this for instance with work. If I'm at work, I am not if say I'm working for the government. I'm not going to be saying fuck the government. I'm not going to be swearing. If I'm out in public, I'm going to be doing everything in my right order that I wouldn't be doing outside of that. Because I have to set a fucking standard.
Yeah,
a standard. I understand your point completely. What I'm trying to get at is, even though I say stupid shit all the time, and I say it, my argument was that even when we say shit, it literally just came out of my mouth. It comes out of your mouth, outside of conversation. I'm saying that people need to be aware that even when they're saying it outside of being hateful or hurtful or coming from a place of disrespect, it's not. You're not saying it from a place of disrespect, hurtfulness. You just say it because you think it's funny, and it is funny. But the problem is, it shouldn't be funny, and that's what needs to change. Because
well, the problem isn't that. The problem is you need to think before you speak. You need to think, how will someone get offended by this? But yet again, people could see that as an issue. Everything's a fucking issue.
Everyone has every side, every different side.
So no matter what side, there's always an issue.
But that's what I'm getting at. You only have to try. I never said that the outcome is everyone is completely nice. There are some people that don't actually have in their minds that they have to speak before they talk. Like example,
old Aunt Jemima up the road.
She does not. They talk.
Yes, I don't do it either. You know what I fucking meant.
No, you said speak before you talk.
Yeah, exactly. Even I do it. I'm saying that people aren't aware that they do. It's just a fucking vicious cycle. That's all.
Okay.
Right. Are you gonna break that cycle, Kyle?
I was gonna say let's go back to
just try. Just talk about it more. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the whole point of this podcast for me. I can only speak on my part. But the whole point of this podcast is
you're trying to practice thinking before you speak. Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, not even practice that. Just change things.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I think it's I think it's a good thing that you're at least trying to change the way that you talk.
A lot of people don't see their flaws.
I mean, that's another reason for the word transformative Thursday is to transform into something new.
Yeah, dude,
transform views, brother.
Yeah, Optimus Prime. Yeah, and 100%. I 100% agree with you, Guy. I think that it's a big thing that people need to work on. I think that, as you said, you shouldn't be fake online and then your own person behind closed doors, because of course certain things.
But that's like every single.
But that's the thing, Guy. We're talking about more from the concept of.
No one's real.
You can, I was gonna say, you can be yourself on this podcast, but the only thing that we ever want you to watch out for is just specific words. And I know that doesn't actually change what your point or who you are. It's just those specific words that are used in derogatory terms by other people, which can then be used by vicious audience to then cancel something that has a positive impact, right?
Okay. Yes.
I'm just saying that's the only thing I was talking about. I know that you want to be able to be your
comes to it.
No, it's not that. I'm saying because society dictates what's right and wrong. Because you are in an environment where, as Ethan said, it's external environment. So my issue is that even if you're talking about if we want to get rid of racism and we want to get rid of all this.
It's done to...
Yeah, exactly. If we want to get rid of it...
you're never going to get rid of racism.
No, I never said...
It never said racism.
Not even 5 seconds earlier.
If we want to get rid of racism...
No, I did say racism. I said if. I never said that it's going to happen. I said if you were going to get rid of it, the best way to do it, not the best way. Who fucking knows what the best way to do it? My opinion is that if you continue to talk about it behind closed doors,
nothing will change.
Nothing will change because it's still part of a part of society. I'm just saying people need to, even when they're around their friends, around their family, around everyone, when it doesn't matter, when I say you need to think about what you're saying, it's usually I've got to think about who I'm saying it to, not what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
So that's okay. Now this is where it becomes.
No one will ever speak.
No.
That's true. That's what we were talking about. Flake.
Joe Rogan legit talked about this exact same thing.
But that's what I was saying. I never said what I'm trying to get is. I never said that it can be removed. I never said that. I said at no point did I say racism is never going to exist.
I didn't say that either. When did I say that?
No, but I just thought that's what you were saying, and I thought I was getting across.
No.
Or what were you saying?
Well, my point is, it's a good idea on paper to always think before you speak, and if it's going to offend someone, don't say it. But everything you say will probably offend someone.
Yeah, no, but I'm aware of that. But what I'm trying to get at is,
if you have an idea, you say it, it's going to offend someone. I'm just not going to say it.
Yeah.
There's no reason in
Joe Rogan said eventually everyone would just not talk.
But that's not what I'm getting at. I'm just getting that people when they're around friends and stuff, very rarely do people actually think about what they're saying until someone goes, "Nah, mate, that's fucking too far," right?
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying to at least even hinder, just remove it the tiniest bit. All it would take is everyone just to be more careful with the words they're saying and not who it's to.
What happens if we have that same example, Kai? Let's say we have the same example.
Yeah.
One way to deal with it might be a different way that you're thinking about it, is once if all your mates called out the words and stopped it being the normal. Once if your mates and society called out...
That's exactly what the change you'd want.
Yeah, so as soon as they say that word, your mates and all that should be like, "Oh, mate, don't use that word."
Yeah, which is what exactly happened.
Yeah, I know.
The difference is the only reason why you said it isn't because it's who you're talking to. It's not what you've said. It's who you're talking to. You're talking to the internet, so you've realized, fuck. If we say that, we're going to be fucking labeled as fucking assholes, pricks. And the problem is you can't even slightly, if you somewhat support it in the tiniest aspect, it is still going to be around. So what I'm trying to say is, if you think about what you're actually saying instead of who it's said to, then you can slowly but surely, reduce the amount of racism, gender, homophobic, anything of that nature, negative thoughts. If you think about what you say, then you can actually make a difference.
I'm going to say this now, because I think all we've done is that we've actually just come around to the same conclusion of what we were originally talking about. Kai, as Hayden said, we're going to call you out when you say bad words, and as you said, you should call us out in person if we say those things. I will personally take more of a mental note in regards to the way that you want, your friends to behave, because I agree with you. I think that using slurs and stuff like that is very much so dependent on the person that you're around. And I think that if everyone had that little bit, more positive mentality and actually, took care of what they were just saying instead of who they were talking to, I think that would genuinely solve a lot of, general consensus around these issues. Other than that,
yeah, I agree. I think it's a good takeaway. A good takeaway for this episode, anyway, is to call out your mates for saying controversial words such as the R word, the C word.
They're not needed. I'm gonna be honest. They're technically not needed in a civilized conversation.
They're not. We should call it out. And we should take it out of our vocabulary.
On that point, I am the most absolute. Back to the degenerate thing. I cannot find anyone that is more of a degenerate than I am. I swear, I fucking do slurs, all this bullshit. I'm just saying I'm trying to make
better.
trying. When I say
all
trying, I
you
use
can
that term very lightly because it might not seem like I'm trying, but it is a lot of work, as you said, to make any sort of change when you've been doing it for a long fucking time.
Yeah,
And
without
that's
being
it.
called out for it. I agree.
Without being called out for
And
it.
we're
So
here to
what I'm
support
saying-
you, Kai. We're going to change
no,
you one
I know.
person at a time.
We're gonna change you for the better, my
No,
friend. We're
but
gonna
like,
teach you civilized conversation.
I was just getting at that. Like, I'm not a fucking perfect. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm saying that I'm a fucking absolute
monkey.
Yeah, monkey. I'm just saying, even if I can identify that I'm a bit of a fuckhead at majority of the times, then everyone should be able to do it. Like, it's not hard to admit.
We're gonna start this ripple effect here at the Couch Podcast. You know, we're gonna start with Kai, and it's gonna go to Kai's gonna do it to all his other mates he'll make in his life, and we're gonna stop.
And I'm not
slurs
saying
from happening.
I'm not saying that I'm never not going to be a dick. Not a dick. I'm never not going
no one's
to
perfect.
say things. That's what I'm getting at. I'm just saying people need to be aware because people aren't. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We fucking yeah.
I agree. I agree. I think people are not aware enough, and they don't talk about the subject of calling their mates out because they think that if they call their mates out, then all they're doing is putting like a target on themselves. If that makes sense. But I think that at the end of the day, if you want to lead by example and you want to, set things right in the world and talk about subjects that are sensitive and so on and so forth, you need to also, originally enforce, even just the way that you speak, the way that you act, the way that you contribute yourself to society, because I think that's the first step. That's a big step.
Yeah.
Is actually changing how you speak.
The mental focus on what you're saying, just think about, that's the biggest takeaway. Think about what you say and how it could affect people. Audience can affect things, but just remember it can change how you talk to other audiences as well, like building habits such as Kai has.
Yeah.
And then you talk to
I
different
haven't built a habit yet. I have not built a habit yet.
You've built a habit of swearing.
No. We're saying like habit of swearing.
Yeah.
So I think just call out one of your mates this week, and and try and stop the slurring and normalization of slurs.
I was going to say at the beginning of this conversation, this original conversation, I genuinely thought, Kai, you sound like a fucking idiot. But after working it out and actually talking about the subject, I very much so agree. I think that's a great idea. I think that by calling people out and actually, vocalizing them using slurs that aren't actually needed, because as you put in great words, actually, I think it's the best way you could have put it, is you shouldn't be talking, the way that you talk shouldn't be dependent on the person, it should just be the way that you talk. It shouldn't be different depending on the situation. I think that, you feel a little bit more comfortable with your loved ones and so on and so forth. And of course, you're not going to change everyone. Some people are too, they have their own self-views. But at least if you call out one person and you go, hey, dude, that's really not even needed in the conversation. We can have a civilized, general conversation without using racial or generalized slurs. And I think that will actually make a big impact on, just the way people talk in general. I think that's a great idea. Good on you, bro. So, Ethan, what do you feel about the subject? Do you think it's a good? Do you think it's a good concept?
I just don't want to.
Good place to start. Yeah,
I think it's a good start.
If I just want to say that if Ethan disagrees with anything I said, I'd like to see his point. That's all.
No, I agree with to an extent, like to what for racist things, homophobic things, yes, but people nowadays can say anything and they can get offended, which could lead to, in 20 years, people not being able to say much or have an original opinion or joke or anything without upsetting someone else.
And I agree with that as well.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing. I agree with you to that extent. So people might lose that touch. Yeah.
I think it's going to be hard to distinguish. I think the trick's going to be distinguishing a joke from casual slurs. Yeah.
This is the last thing I say, I promise. I'll fucking mute myself. As I said, it's literally just it's just a long period of time. You just need time, and eventually society will say if it's wrong or if it's right. That's all.
All right. Well, that's it for today. On the couch. I'm exhausted. I need to go rest. The boys, it's been fun chatting to you. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Follow us on Twitch. Bloody, what else we got?
That's it.
Instagram, YouTube. We got nothing. It's gonna happen. Thank you for listening. All right. See you guys.